This conference will now be recorded.
All right. Any questions, guys, before I can get started? You want any questions? Anything that you all tried? Any issues? Any questions as such? Okay. Mhm. Mhm. Yes. Okay. Mhm. Yes. Mhm. Yes, it is mandatory. Mhm. That's right, but how do you tell your array how many times to execute? Or how do you tell your loop how many times to execute? Mm. How many times you need to execute? Zero, one, two, three times. Or less than names dot count or something like that. The condition on how many times you need to, let's say, run, it depends upon that less than, greater than, and etc. that you're giving inside that particular loop out there. Yes, anyone, any more questions here? Okay, so let's start with three basic commands. Uh, I want to create something like this. I want a resource group. I want a storage account inside that particular resource group, and I want a container inside this particular storage account. Three things. Let's get started. So I want a container inside this out. So this is what I asked you to do, is that can I try going ahead and creating a container out here? So let's see. Very firstly, okay, dismiss this. Very firstly, how do I create a story? How do I create a resource group? Hmm. Okay, you need to log into the account, but I'm already logged in, so I am good with that.
New
And
resource
how do you
group
create
command.
New hyphen resource group.
hyphen
New hyphen
hyphen is
H resource
a
group.
resource group hyphen the name, and I'll give something like demo rgps partial hyphen the location. I'll give something like ECS2. So I go and give this something known as ECS2 and etc. And again, I don't want to pass my names directly. Don't want to hard code it. So I introduce, before I go into resource group creation, I introduce parameterization or parameters. Say RG name is equal to demo RG PS. I'll say dollar location is equal to East US 2. And instead of going here, I'll remove this RG name. I'll remove this location. Again, don't need quotations out here since I'm in which is passing it in quotes. Dollar location. So this is the resource group creation. How do you create a storage account then? Instead of, let's say, okay, instead of storage account, so I would say new hyphen is its storage account, hyphen the resource group name, and whatever the resource group name that I'm creating, I want to create my storage account in the same thing. So I'll say dollar RG name, the name of the storage account. Again, I'll say it is dollar storage name, and I'll give a name here. I'll say demo PS storage ABC 000, something like this. So here, in place of, let's say, name, I'll say it is dollar storage name hyphen. I'll say SKU name. Again, SKU name can also be, let's say, a parameter, standard underscore LRS. This is how I need to pass it. So I'll say hyphen SKU name. I'll say standard, or I'll say SKU name out here. I'll say location, I'll say dollar location, and let's see what else that I can pass. Kind access tier, by default kind is going to be a storage v2. By default access tier is going to be something like hot, so I don't have to, let's say, change this out. So this is the logic for creating a storage account. What if I want to create a container? What is the command that I need to use to create a container? Did anyone try this out on how to create a storage container? Let's do that. Let's say new hyphen az container. Let's see container. So it's in container group image, and etc. We did not say what container is it, right? Container can mean a lot of things, but what if I say storage container, storage account container, new hyphen az storage account container hyphen the name of the container. So I'll say container name is equal to this container out here. I'll say container name hyphen there is something called permissions. Now, when you create a container, what all do you pass? Name, and do you pass anything while creating a container on the Azure portal? Access tiers or access levels, which is private, blob, and container. Same thing. It's telling blob container of an unknown. So blob is blob access level. Container is container access level. Of an unknown or private. Of an unknown, both are private. So you can put it as off, putting it as in a private access level. And now I have a logic to go and create a resource group, create a storage account, and then inside that particular storage account create a container inside that particular storage account out here. So let's do one thing. Let's save this out. I'll say storage account container. Mhm. We need to assign the storage account also. Good question. So I'll say hyphen storage account. Let's see. But I'm not getting any parameter to assign the storage account. There's no parameter to give the storage account name. You cannot give the storage account name. Very simple. Mhm. Inside a storage account. Correct. Mhm. Correct. Any storage account name or container where it'll be, we'll see. We'll execute it and see how it, let's say, really works out. But good question though, good point and good question though. Let's see that. So I have the resource group name, location, storage name. I have SKU, then I have the container name, and the first line is doing a new hyphen AZ resource group. Second line is doing, let's say, new hyphen AZ storage account. Third line is doing new hyphen AZ storage container. I'll execute this out, and this is going to take that particular script. And firstly, it went ahead, created a resource group, and after the resource group, now again it's waiting there. You don't know what the script is doing. That's the reason you do a lot of write host statements, telling write host, starting the creation of storage account, done with the storage account creation, starting the creation of container, done with the container creation, something like that. So now it's going ahead, trying to do, or it's, I know that it's trying to create a storage account, because right now after the resource group is done, the next thing it has to go to is the storage account. So it went into the storage account, and then it went here into the container creation, and then it failed. It said could not get the storage context. Please pass the storage account context as, or set the current storage account context out here. Let's understand a couple of things with this command again. New hyphen easy storage container. Let's go into the documentation. Paste this in, and in Google, if I just do a documentation out here, I'm going to get a entire documentation on how to go ahead and create a container using, let's say, the PowerShell modules. Now it's telling these are the accepted parameters when new hyphen easy storage container let's say, goes ahead and takes it something known as name, permission. These are two things that I passed. Very importantly, something called as a context, and that's what my command is telling me right now. Is that it's telling could not get the storage context. Please pass in the storage context or set the current storage context out here, because the thing here it is asking is that it's saying, you know what, I don't understand which storage account you want to create this in. Or again, second thing is that it's telling if you want to create a container not within the Azure portal, but from an external tool like, let's say, Microsoft Storage Explorer or PowerShell or ARM templates or something like that, I need to understand a couple of things like what is a connection string, what is the access keys, no, what kind of an authorization that I need to do, or what kind of an authorization that I need to go for which the answer is something called as context. Let's see that. Now, in order to get a particular storage account, now I have a storage account that got created. Now, this one, sorry, let me refresh the screen. I have a storage account that got created. I just want PowerShell to return the name of the storage account. What do I need to do? Write host. Mhm. Read host. What does read host do?
Get host.
No, I want to get the name, or I want to get the details of the storage account that I created.
Get storage
Get host.
account.
Get
Get
hyphen
AZ.
exactly.
Get
Get
hyphen AZ
hyphen
storage account.
AZ storage account, right? Hyphen the resource group name in which the storage account was created, which is nothing but dollar $rg name, hyphen the name of the storage account that I have, which is dollar storage name. Right? And if I go ahead execute this out, so it is now going ahead and getting the details of the storage account that is there in my Azure portal. And let's see what does it return back for me, and let's see how can I go from there. So this is going to give me details like what is the name of the storage account, what is the resource group of the storage account, what is the primary location, what is the SKU name, what is the kind, what is the access tier, and etc. Let's say out of this I only want the storage account name. So what do I do? Out of this entire command, I only want this command to return the storage account name. How do I get that?
Assign one parameter.
Okay, yes, that's what it's coming. What are all the parameters that is there? But I only want to get the name, $I, and no, I only want to get the name out here. Mhm.
Where object, where object.
Where object, you can do a where object, or very simply you can do one thing. You can say dollar
You can
details,
create one more, yeah, one more and assign that value to that.
assign that value, meaning you say dollar details, and you
Then
can do one
details
thing,
dot storage account name.
details dot storage account name. So if I just yes execute this out, all the details of the storage account like the name, resource group name, location, etc. are stored in the dollar details. If I say dollar details, all these details are coming up. If I say dollar details dot storage account name, it will return the storage account name. If I say dollar details dot primary location, it will give me something called as ECS2. Now there are a few hidden properties inside this one. The command doesn't give you all the properties back. There are a few things that are hidden. For example, if I do a dollar details dot context, there is something called context. I'll say enter. Do you see what it is now giving me? URLs. Scroll down. It's also giving what? Connection string. This is what the new -AG storage account is expecting. I need the context of the storage account what you are creating. It's not just the name, but it is the URL of the storage account. It's also the connection strings of the storage account so that I can use all these things and then go ahead and create a container for you. So what I can do is if I come back into my PowerShell, I'll introduce a new value called $context. I'll say $context is equal to $details dot context. So whatever is in that particular context value, which is nothing but this one, which is a connection strings, which is the endpoints and everything, I'll store it inside this particular $context. So whatever I'm getting, I'm storing it inside the $context out here. And what I'll do is that in this command, wherein I'm creating the storage container, which is new -az storage container -name -permission, I'll give one more hyphen here and I'll say context. And I'll say $context out here. And if I now execute this out, not giving me any error. It's not asking for the storage account name because the context already has the storage account name, the storage account endpoint, the storage account connection strings, where it has to create and etc. So now if I look into this one, test container got created. Now you have something known as a test container which got created right now as such. Yes, any questions here on what did I do out here as such? Any questions here? On what did we pass? How did we pass? Any questions? Any confusion still here? Any confusion, guys? Anyone? Anything that you do not follow? Are we good? Yes? No? Shall I move forward?
Yes, sir.
Are we good? Are there no questions on what
Yeah.
did we do here? So we passed parameters. We said we create a storage account. We said we created a resource group. We said we created a storage account. After creating that, I am getting the details of the storage account that is already created. And from the details, I'm getting one specific property called context, storing it inside a variable called $context, using that variable in my next command. If I don't do that, the container creation will fail. It will simply tell that, you know what, I cannot get the context. I don't understand where I need to create this. Where is your storage account? Where is that resource group and etc. Where is the connection strings and etc. It will simply fail. And as a reason, I need to pass something called as a context block additionally to my, let's say, commandlet out here as such. Mhm. Okay. If you skip that, can you come again? So, for example, if I Mhm. This line is it? Okay. Okay. Why will it take? How will it take? Mhm. Okay. Since we are mentioning, where did you mention the storage account? Line number 12. Where did you mention the storage account again? So where are you mentioning the storage account name? Where exactly? Correct. But are you passing it to the line 615? How does this line know that what is your storage account? As you said, there can be multiple storage accounts, right? So how will this know which storage account to be created in? Which is the reason Why you would need a context? Telling which storage account that I want to really create this in. Telling which storage account that I need to really create this in. Not only that, but also giving things like the connection string of a particular storage account or the authorization for a particular storage account out here. And that's how you end up creating, let's say, your containers, your storage account, your resource groups, and all these things. Yes, any questions? Anyone? Any questions still here?
So,
Good, please.
in place of context, if you place storage account name, paste dollar
Mhm.
details, and what will be the output?
In place of context, if I
We have
place the
saved
storage account, Mhm.
in dollar details. We have saved the storage account name, right? So, in place of hyphen context, hyphen
Mhm.
storage account names, paste dollar details.
Okay, just a second. So, in place of context, you want to place details, something like
Yeah,
this.
dollar details, and in place of hyphen context, hyphen storage account,
Okay, hyphen
storage
storage
account
account.
name,
Okay, hyphen
storage
storage
account
account name.
name.
Okay, hyphen storage
Yeah.
account name. Is there a storage account name there? When I say a hyphen storage, do
No,
you see a storage account name? Which means that this
no,
particular
no.
module doesn't really support anywhere something known as a storage account name. These are the only accepted parameters. Now, when you're dealing with PowerShell, you're dealing with a module called AZ storage. This AZ storage is, again, if I want to go inside the development, there is something called as a class. It's a .NET class. And in this particular .NET class, you can only have these particular parameters which are accepted. So we cannot go ahead and pass that hyphen storage account name, and which is the reason why I am passing the entire context value out here. Instead of me passing the storage account name, I'm passing the context so that it can understand where to create and how to create this.
Okay.
Yes. Any questions till here? Any questions with the script till here? Okay. What happens if I re-execute it? What do you think will happen if I re-execute the same script? Sorry? Yes. Won't. Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. Shouldn't take. So what will happen? What should happen? Do you think? It should show error. Let's see that. Firstly, yeah, it's asking provided resource group already exists. Are you sure you want to update it? I'll say yes. Okay. Let's see what it's telling you right now. For resource group, it did not throw any error. It was okay. What is it throwing here? A name, something
storage account.
is taken, is already taken. Which command is throwing the error, you think? Which command is, let's say, throwing this particular error?
New hyphen
Let's say
AZ
new
storage
hyphen
account.
is storage account. This is here. This is the command which is throwing, let's
Because
say, your, let's say, error.
because
New hyphen
Azure
is
account
storage
is
account.
global storage account.
Yes, it should be globally unique. It said this account is already there. I cannot again create this. I'll fail. Container already exists. New hyphen AZ storage container is again throwing this error. Now, why do I say we need a lot of right host statement out here? Is this? See, if I am able to do this, okay, I'll say right host starting the RG creation. If I can separate it with a color, yellow, and I'll say right host wherever I'm creating it, I'll say starting the storage account creation. I'll say foreground color something like blue or something like this, and I said write host starting container creation, and I can put a different color out here like green. Okay, now execute this out. It's saying okay, starting RG creation, and then it says starting storage account creation then failed, starting container creation then failed. So I understand that okay fine, the failure is coming here after this write host statement. So I can search for this write host statement in my script. I'll say okay fine, this is where I have written a write host telling starting the storage account creation. After this it is failing, which means this is the command where it is now failing out here. Now if I scroll down, it's saying get something like this. It's saying okay fine, this is fine. After that, so these two commands successfully went through, there is no issue here. After that, again after this write host, I have a failure, which means that these are the two things that I need to address: new hyphen az storage container and new hyphen az storage account. My script is not reusable right now. My script is static, it's very static in nature, it is not reusable right now. So again, in place of rg name, instead of giving the rg name, I say read hyphen host and say please enter rg name. I can give this, can I? That's fine, but you are getting a pop-up for resource group. When you get the pop-up, when you try to run this script using a DevOps practice, which we will later do in the classes, DevOps will not support user interaction, which means you cannot go into the DevOps portal and say yes, no, or something. It will fail. It will simply say, you know what, I'm getting a pop-up. I cannot, let's say, take this. I'll fail. Reason being, I also need to take care of that. Now, when you're using PowerShell, it's good enough. But later at point of time, that pop-up will, kind of break your script. It will fail there. So that's the reason I'm telling you, okay, fine, please enter the RG name out here, right in the very starting. Location, I'm okay to go ahead and create it in ECS2. You can add, optionally, you can say that the user, asking the user to go ahead and create this, let's say, or pass the location. I'll say read host, please enter the storage account name. This is okay, LRS, I'll say read host, please enter the container name. So I have three different things right now. A couple of things hard coded, like for example, standard LRS and ECS2. I'm okay with that. Now, before I am creating, let's separate our script. Okay, let's break our script into smaller pieces. We'll separate the resource group creation, storage account creation, and before creating the container, I need the context. So that's the reason I will say container creation starts here. Okay. So I am breaking my script into three smaller pieces. One, the resource group, two, the storage account, three, the container. Let's understand. If I want to make this reusable, which means if the storage account already exists, the script should simply say that you know what, storage account is there. If the storage account is not there, only then, sorry, if the resource group is not there, only then it should go ahead and create the same. What should I do here? What should I be doing here then?
If statement.
If statement.
Yes.
If the resource group is there, or if the resource group is not there, I should create it.
Yes.
If it is there,
If
I should
else.
simply tell that you know what, the resource group is there, so I am skipping the creation. So if else, you do if else out there.
Yes. If
Before
else.
you do if else, do we need to do anything else?
Get resource group details.
Get resource group details. Firstly, you check the resource group. If the resource group is there, based upon that, you write your if statement. So
Error
I'll say
action.
RG error action, yes. I'll say RG details is equal to get hyphen AZ resource group hyphen the name, whose name is what? What should be the name here?
RG name.
$RG name?
Yeah.
Yes. $RG name hyphen location dollar
Location.
location
Location.
hyphen error action silently continue, because I know that if it fails here, then it will throw me an error. So I don't want to throw this an error. I'll say if RG details is equal to dollar null, and RG details can only be equal to dollar null if there is no resource group out there as such. So I'll say is equal to null. What should I do? You need to give, sorry. Okay. Mhm. Client is already giving name in the first line.
Create a
Client is
resource.
already,
Create a new one.
it's reading in the first line. But what should I do in the if statement if it is not there?
Create a new one.
New Azure
Create it,
resource group.
which means this is the statement that I need to follow.
Yes.
So I copied everything, cut everything out here, put it inside my if loop. Understand this, guys. Put it in a plain English. You are using the script, you are entered the name is not there. What should you do? Create it. That's the reason. That's what I did here. I said that's what I did. Again, this is not a rocket science. I'm just doing whatever in plain English. I'm putting it in the form of, let's say, a script. Else, I would say write host RG already exists, skipping the creation. Or give a new name or something like that. You can do that. But since it's an end-to-end script, I'm saying skipping the creation out here. I just scroll down, and this is now the resource group part, wherein it's first checking whether the name that you entered. So you as a client entered a name. It's checking whether the name that you entered already exists on the Azure portal or not. If it doesn't exist, the if condition will get satisfied. It'll go into this particular loop and it'll say, okay, fine, I'll create a resource group for you. Great. Else, the else can only be satisfied if the RG details is not equal to null. And when will it be not equal to null? When this returns a value. When will this return a value? Only when this particular resource group name already exists on the portal. So I'll say great. I'll scroll down. Can I do the same thing for storage account also?
Yes, sir.
Whatever logic that I implemented here, I'll take the same logic, but slightly different. What I'll do, instead of saying RG details, I'll say storage details. Agreed? So here I have RG details, which is telling get hyphen easy resource group, name of the resource group, error action silently continue. I'm saying storage details. And now I'll say get hyphen. In place of AZ resource group, I'll say AZ storage account. I'm telling, okay, fine, please get the storage account. Whose resource group? Which resource group it is again into? What should be the name of the resource group? Dollar name
Dollar
or dollar
RGB.
RG name?
$RG name.
That's what we are passing. So I'll say dollar RG name hyphen the name of the storage account. Again, name of the storage account is being passed as dollar storage name, whatever your
Storage
client is
name.
passing. Storage name. So I'll put it here. I'll say hyphen error action silently continue. Now I'll say if dollar storage details is equal to dollar null, then can I get the entire statement inside again? Okay, sorry, not this one. Till here. Entire statement inside the if loop. Again, just to make sure that I know what I'm doing, I'll just say yes. So entire statement inside the if loop right now. If the detail is equal to null, else what should it be? Right host. Telling storage account is already there. I'm not creating it. It's a right host. Storage account name already exists in creation. Finally, I can do the same thing for my container also. I can say container status. I say get hyphen az storage container hyphen whose name is it storage account? Is it container? It's a container. So I'm saying it is a container name. I'll say hyphen container name. And whenever you're doing a get or something like that, you also need the context. So what I'll do, I'll copy or I'll cut this entire context, and before I do the container status, I'll do the context. Get the context, and I'll say hyphen context. It's dollar context out here as such. So I'm now doing a dollar context out here, and if container status is equal to null, then this is my statement to create a container. So I'll get everything, paste this in. I'll say else. You can write some elaborate thing here. I'll say write host container with the name dollar container name already exists under the storage account, and I'll say I can give its name. I'll say storage name. I'm saying okay fine, this is the detail. So if I just save this out, run this out once again, it's asking me to enter the RG name. I'll say demo to PSRG storage account name. I'll say demo to PS storage ABC000 container name. Say test container. Now enter. It's telling starting the RG creation. It's saying succeeded. It's telling starting the storage account creation. And now it's going ahead creating the storage account for me. And after the storage account creation, it will also try looking for the container, check whether the container exists or not. Then it goes ahead and creates that particular container out there. And if you again go ahead give the same details, it should simply go into the else loop and say, you know what, that storage account exists or the container exists and all that stuff. So now storage account is done. So it's saying cannot find the container, and it threw an error here saying cannot find a container called test container, and then it went ahead and created a route. Why do you think this error is coming here? Where do you think the error is coming?
Already test container is created and
Okay, but let's understand, where do we think
that
the error is coming? Which command is giving the error?
Get get Azure.
Creating
Get
container.
To put Azure error action.
error action, exactly. I missed giving the error action out here. This is the command it's telling is giving you the error, because I know that the container is not existing. I don't want it to throw an error, so error action silently continue out here. If I go back to the Azure portal, demo to PSRG got created, inside which I have a storage account, inside which I have a container out here. Let's say now let's test our script. Let's give a couple of things. This I will also go ahead copy this one, and it's anyway just as container. So I'll just go ahead re-execute it once again to see whether my script is reusable or not. It's saying enter the name of the resource group. This was the name of the resource group that I copied, which is demo rg something. Enter the name of the storage account. This is the name of the storage account that I have. I'll say enter. I'll say test container. So it's saying what? RG already exists, skipping the creation. Storage account already exists, skipping the creation. Container with the name test container already exists under the storage account. What? Skipping the creation. Which means that the script is incremental in nature. It's very incremental in nature, which means that if it exists, it'll just skip. If it doesn't, it'll create it out. Let's see once again. One more scenario. I'm executing this out once again. I'll give the same name of the storage account. Sorry, same name of the resource group, same storage account name, but a different container. What should it do, you think? Or what should it do, we think out here? How should the script behave right now?
It will skip
It is
the first
created a
two steps.
container.
Container should be created. Resource group, it will just skip it, telling that the
Yeah,
resource
it's
group already is there. Storage account is already there, it will skip it, but it should create the container. So let's see if it works that way. So it's saying RG already exists. Okay, I did not save it after that. So that's the reason it gave an error out here. Cannot find the container, something like this. Let's see. Why is it behaving like this? Let's see. Get hyphen AC storage container. Cannot find the container, something like this. Get hyphen context. Okay. I have passed an error action out here. Let's see. This is a detailed AC storage account. This is fine. Okay. Not this one. I've given a wrong error action parameter. Let's remove this out. I should have given it here. I've given it in the wrong place, but I should have given it here. But let's try again. Okay, should be fine. Fine. So ignoring this error because I gave a wrong error action parameter. I've give it in the wrong line. It's saying starting the container creation, and it went ahead and created a new container inside this. Let's see. So if I go into containers, this container and this container one out here as such. Yes. Any questions till here? Anyone? Any questions till here that I can take? So this is now an end-to-end script which looks for names, checks for the name, doesn't exist, go ahead. Again, you just need to understand this part on how is it getting the storage account, or sorry, how is getting the resource group. If it's not there, how is it creating? If it's there, how is it telling you? The same logic I've applied for storage account, container. You can apply the same logic for multiple things like a virtual machine, web application, anything. Same logic can be put in place. You can just apply this out here as such.
yes, Kiran. Can we just in the else statement after giving the right of statement as RG group already exists,
Mhm.
then in the next step we can give the next statement as read host, give a new name to create a new
We
one.
can do that, but the thing here that I want to emphasize on is that again, if the name again exists, then what are we going to do? Again, the script again has to ask for a new name out here,
Yes,
which means
in the
that
next in
you
the
will
else
need a
statement.
looping statement out there. So if you want to do that, there is something called as a do while loop in PowerShell.
No, can we use in the if else statement? Because if it's null, we are creating a new one. If
Correct,
else, we are giving it already exist in the next statement read host, give a new name,
correct,
and next we
right.
can give
Create
the
one.
statement as new create on. Yeah,
Mhm. Right. So you are doing a read host here. You want to do a read host here, right?
yeah, read host.
Right, but what if the client enters again in even in this loop? What if I enter a research group name which already exists on the portal?
Yeah, we are giving the else statement that it already exists. Give a new name. So in the read host, we
Correct,
will be again asking the
correct,
client to
correct,
give a new name.
correct. But what if I give? That's what I'm telling you. The argument here is that yes, you're right in telling that it already exists. Very first time
Okay.
I checked. Firstly, the client is passing it here.
Okay.
It said, okay, fine, the reado's name exists out here. It came here. It's telling reado's, sorry, the right host, the RG is already existing. And you again want to give a read host.
Yes.
I'll say, enter a new name. What if my client goes ahead, enters, let's say, the same name again?
Okay.
It will take. Why will it not? It will definitely take. It will give. It will take whichever name that you pass. The only
Okay.
function of a read host is to just take whatever you're passing out here. It doesn't know when you're whether you're passing the same name or you're passing a different name. No. So my question is that what if again I give the same thing?
Okay.
Then again you will have to put an if condition here telling whether that exists or not and then create it. Again you will have an else. Again in the else
Yes.
you will again have to pass a read host. Right? So you're
Yes.
creating a loop inside a loop which will again, kind of go into infinite number of possibilities. You cannot do that. That's the reason I'm telling. If you want to, let's say, try it out again and again, go with something called as a do while looping concept in PowerShell,
Okay.
which will tell you that what, do while this particular condition is not satisfied. Please check this out and see how you can use this particular do while looping condition for the problem statement that you are talking about, wherein
Okay.
if the name doesn't exist, I again want the client to, let's say, pass a name, and it has to be done until he passes a new name.
New
That's
name.
what is the condition out here. If I do it in else, else, and else, and else, I'll be creating a huge branching structure out there. I'll be creating, let's say, a huge structure out there, which is not ideal. So that's the reason we go ahead and, let's say, do something called, or we go ahead and, let's say, implement a different looping concept out here called do while. So if else is not, let's say, a solution here. If you want to, let's say, repeat it again and again.
Okay.
Yes. Any more questions here?
So what if I want to give different location for resource group and storage account?
So what we need to do then is that here I'll say it is RG location. Read host, what is the location for the RG? So I can say read host, please enter RG location. And if you want a different location for storage, I'll say dollar storage location. Again, give a read host statement here, telling enter storage location. This is a read host again. And in here, while I am creating a storage account, I'll need to pass a storage location instead of a location. The storage location out here. Then it'll go ahead check for that. It's not. Then it'll simply go ahead and, let's say, create this out. So you would need multiple, let's say, parameters out here if you want to maintain a different location for the storage account and a different location for the resource group as such out there. Yes. Any more questions here? Mhm. Right. Yes. Hmm. Okay. Yes, you'll have to give the names because this script is designed in such a way that it is only taking, let's say, a string value to begin with. String you can only pass one name. But if you want to, let's say, do bulk operations, then you will have to declare this as an array. Again, if you declare it an array, you'll have to introduce something known as a for each looping concept. For each looping, because here it's not just one resource group that you're creating, not one storage account that you're creating. You're doing multiple things out there, right? So you need to do a for each logic out there so that you can go ahead, take all that particular array, process it, and then create something out there. Yes. Any more questions here? Anyone? Any questions? Okay. Now, before coming to the next class, most likely we'll be having a session tomorrow. I'll just inform what is the timing of the session. So before coming to the next session out there, just read what is ARM template. I don't want you all to, let's say, practice or something out there. Just see what is an ARM template. Why is it really used? Where can it really come into picture? Just go with this particular paragraph on what is ARM template. What exactly do you mean by this particular template? And we'll talk about this particular template in the next session that we meet. All right. And before that, one more requirement that I do have out here is that today I went ahead, created a storage account if not existing, resource group not existing, container if that's not existing out there. Can you take this entire script and in the bottom also tell me how do you upload blobs inside the container using a PowerShell? Just try Google it out. Let's try to Google upload blobs using PowerShell. Documentation itself is telling you how do you do that. It's giving you the entire end-to-end flow on how do you go ahead create a resource group, how do you go ahead create a storage account, how do you go ahead create a container, how do you upload a blob inside this particular container. So please check this out, and in the next session we meet, we'll start with this and then we'll go into something called as an ARM template out here. Okay. All right, so that's it from mine, guys. If there are no questions, then thank you and have a good day ahead. Good.
Then do
Sorry.
we use ARM templates in PowerShell?
Uh, Sorry. Come again, Shiva.
Do we use ARM templates in PowerShell?
Do we use ARM templates with PowerShell? Just go ahead, read what is ARM template. I'll talk about what is ARM template and why do you use that and do we use it along with PowerShell and etc.
Okay.
Yes, one offline question I'll take. Yes. Mm-hmm. So the reusable script for loop concept again. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Multiple storage account resource scripts. Yes. You come to me and tell me what is your logic and how did you approach the script. Okay, so we read about for loop, we read about for each, we did for loop, we did for each. Now you come back to me and tell how did you implement that. Okay, do a scripting, let it fail, not a problem. Then come to me, I'll tell you where do you, how do you, or how do you implement a for loop or a for each loop out there. Okay, so let's do it. Let's say in an interactive way, not in a proactive way where I tell and then basically you listen. But this time you tell me what is the error, I listen. Okay, thank you guys.